Hey, everybody. Welcome to Know Your Gear QA number 80. What are we, 82? 82. The best QA show on Fridays at 3 o'clock. I'm pretty sure of it. And I want to thank everybody who makes this possible. Obviously, the ones that watch, the ones that support, the ones that click like buttons, the ones that share. All of you have been instrumental in everything I do. But of course, there's a couple of you that I just want to mention because they help also make this show possible. And that is the level 1 crew, and that is Bradulus, Jeff Howes, Zachary Rowe, Michael Newman, Bruce and the One Blood Wee Band, Hunter Gunson, John Jex, Michael Shy, Justin Mabe, David Madison, Andrew Good, Anthony Desposito, Billy Robertson, Bob Crosley, Bob Pickwode, Brian Stewart, and Bill Brotherton. He's a newer one that's been helping out, and for some reason I didn't catch him. So I'm sorry, Bill. You've been doing this for a while and no mentions, so extra mention for you today. Bill, thank you so much. Carlos Patillo, Chuck Keene, Chris Glaze, Craig Parker, Daniel Psychic, Dylan87, James Biles, Joe Watson, Jonathan Pickering, Joseph McCarthy, Kermit Jackson, Lawrence Petros, Lee Hawkins, Lonnie Hoke, Michael Lidner, Paul Ostreich, Lewis and Alvaro Pedal Pal Effects. Hey, you know what? We're going to be hanging out tomorrow. We're going to go see Slash together. That's going to be awesome. Ricky Robinson, Robert Books, Robert Hodges, Robert Wood Guitar, Scott Tompkins, Space Jazz, Steve Pinna, Tim, just Tim, and of course, Tim Camacho, who is the Tim with a last name. Here we go. Hey, everybody. How's it going? How was your week? I hope your week was good. My week's good, considering it's still 180,005 degrees right now. It is September, and sometimes the downfall of living in a desert is that when the summer is over for a lot of people, it just doesn't end here. And I've been just feeling it like crazy. In fact, I might even have a funny story for you. In fact, I will. I'll start the show. We're going to start the show with a funny story. If you watched my 10 favorite MXR pedals video, here's the funny story. I'm making some videos. Some of you guys know this behind the scenes stuff. I'm making some repair videos obviously for the channel, YouTube channel, but also for some other things going on. There's all kinds of things, levels, layers happening. But more importantly, I've been in the shop. So my gear was in the shop, and when I decided to do the video, I didn't want to haul the gear back upstairs. As you can see behind me, there's no cameras and stuff. Usually behind me, you see a camera or two. It's all downstairs. And the funny story was, it was 108 outside and in the afternoon. And to get the videos to sound great, I need to turn off the AC because it hums in the cameras. So I turned it off. So if you watch the video of me doing the MXR pedals, be aware it was 101 degrees in that room. So if I look a little red and if I look a little sweaty and maybe a little tired at the end, that's because even though to you guys that video was like 16 minutes, that's the edit down from about 48 minutes in exact length it was. So it was about an hour of 101 degrees in a room with no fans and no AC. So I don't know. It was good. Maybe it helps. Maybe it made my skin look better. I don't know. Sweating's supposed to be good for you. So we'll say that you guys helped me as much as I helped you. I did a video and you guys helped me sweat out some stuff. All right, what do we got going on? Anyone got anything exciting or anything you guys want to talk about, ask a question about before we get started with our normal QA shenanigans? Jeff says it's 83 in Honolulu. Well, I wonder, here's the funny thing, Jeff. I have no reference of that. To me, 83 is like, yes, that's amazing. Is that hot? Like, I don't know if you're referencing like you're bragging like it's 83 here, it's awesome, or if you're saying, man, 83 is hot there. Because I am aware of certain things. Like I go to San Diego, and San Diego to me, when it's like 85 in San Diego, it's just I hate it. You know what I mean? We went summer one time. We went to San Diego to get away from the heat. It was like 115 here. And we went to San Diego. It was 92 there. And in the 92 there was worse than the 115 here. Kind of. So that's how it felt. And then I'm going to do a quick shout out. Before the show even started, before I even turned on a button, William Thornton, he just did a super chat for $5 for no reason. Well, thank you, William. I appreciate that. That's nice. That was very kind of you. So let's go to Raymond. I'm going to take a drink of coffee. because as I just complained about how hot it is, I'm drinking coffee, mostly because it's the afternoon and I'm a little run down. A lot of repairs in this week. I've had a lot of repairs to do this week. Okay, so it says, I want to purchase an amp head. I'm looking at the PV 3120, 120 watt tube USA, the Hughes and Kittner Switchblade, 100 watts. Each of them $400. Thoughts on each? Oh, that's tough. I've played both those amps, and here's the thing about the Switchblade. For me, it was a really cool amplifier. I'm curious. I can't remember if the Switchblade was made in Germany or if it's an import version of their stuff. I'll tell you this, the 3120 for me by PV, what I loved is I thought it had a great clean channel, and I thought the gain was just monstrously mean. It was one of those sleeping amps, it was better than you're making me want a 3120. Where's it for $400? Maybe we'll start bidding against each other. Okay, so if I was me, here's the interesting part. I would pick the PV 3120. That would be my choice of me picking, and that's a tough thing. It actually hurts me. That's what I'm holding my chest right now to say, because I have a great relationship with Hughes and Kittner, and I love those guys. I have no relationship with PV, so it tells you that it hurts to say that when you pick. I have this. Sometimes you have to just go with the truth, but it's tough. You want to recommend your friends when you can, but man, that PV 3120 was just a great amp. I like it more than the 5150. I always thought the 3120 was like I said, a sleeper amp, because I thought the clean channel was great. I thought it was a great amp. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on that. If you want to make comments, let me know, and go back. You know what I didn't do last week? I was so good at it. This week I did not open up a super chat screen. So last week's problems with the super chat screens locking up, I'm going to avoid that by pulling it up in another window, so that I don't lose them, and also we don't have any sticking points, because there is something up with YouTube and keeping me locked into the super chats. Hold on a second. Let's click out of this one more. Hide the chat. Show the chat. Yeah, I don't know what this is and why it's doing this. It's like, do I have to click something now to tell it I answered the just remove? Nope. It's actually blocked me out. This is horrible. Okay, hold on a second. Let me go back. Don't you guys love watching a live show? It's just like what Saturday Live said. You get to watch the live show. You get to see all the good and the bad. All right. Let's find some stuff. What do we got going on? Todd Mininick. By Minin. Thoughts on Michael Kelly guitars? Oh, yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on Michael Kelly guitars. Michael Kelly guitars was sold to Sam Ash. Sam Ash owns them. So Sam Ash is now the owner of Michael Kelly. You'll probably start noticing them more and more in the Sam Ash stores. Now, I know I did a restring clinic at Sam Ash, and I know you guys have seen Sam Ash on the show, and I've had some interaction with him. Please understand that I'm 100% isolated from Sam Ash. It means I don't have any back end information. I don't know anything. That's just something I know happened. I even, unfortunately, I'm not going to share, but I even know what it was sold for. I don't think anyone's supposed to know, but anyways, I know. And so yeah, now what I did see after I did that restring clinic was I saw a display of Michael Kelly being put up at that Sam Ash location. And I was able to pick up a couple to see, because I was curious to see, I've always had great respect for the Michael Kelly guitars before. They feel pretty good. They were good quality. To see if it changed. I didn't get any impressions of it changed. The only thing I can tell you, Todd, is I did send an email to Sam Ash saying, hey, I like you guys, obviously, and you let me come in your stores a couple times. I said, I know you guys might. I told them I was aware of the Michael Kelly situation, that they bought them, and I would like to do some reviews for them. And in all fairness and transparency, I've also, at the exact time, reached out to Guitar Center and asked to review the Mitchell brand. And the reason is because a lot of you guys brought up the Harley Benton guitars, and I thought, I want to hit all of them. If you guys want me to look at in-house brands, I want to hit all the in-house brands and talk about them. So, so far, no feedback yet. Sam Ash, the company, sent back saying, hey, where the Michael Kelly line is new to them, and they're doing all this stuff. And in the future, we'll see what happens, right? I got the impression it was too soon to ask. The Guitar Center guys were a little bit more accommodating. They responded back with, yeah, they would like to promote the Mitchell brand and maybe have me do some reviews. And so, just for this particular instance, the agreements I plan to do with these companies will be 100% hands off. In other words, there'll be no money transacting, no payments, no help to support the channel financially, no free gear either. I'll if they give me product, we'll give it away. We'll do giveaways for the product. Because again, I know here's why this is important to me. What I'm thinking is just like the Harley Benton, you guys have tons of them. I'm thinking the Mitchell brand, 300 Guitar Center stores, 20 pegs per store. Looks like when I go into their stores are Mitchell brands. So I'm thinking a lot of you guys might have Mitchells. So I'd like to be able to look at them and have, just not be, attached or working with those companies yet. So like I said, that's what I know about Michael Kelly and those other brands. I'm really interested because I like this new future of kind of like, if you're familiar with Costco, they have Kirkland. I think it's smart. A lot of companies in the past have tried in-house brands and they have not done really well. And I think this is the great now, because here's the reality. If we want these larger brick and mortar stores to stick around, they're going to have to figure out how to increase their margins. And I would rather them pull in their own in-house brands to do that than do something crazy like ask the manufacturers we love to change things or maybe degrade things. You know what I mean? I mean, the margin's got to be there. There's no stretch of the imagination to understand what the extreme cost put into running a 20,000 square foot store. It's got a heavy cost. So there you go. But all right. Here's a good, Joshua's got a, hey, what's better, the Les Paul Standard or the traditional? It's funny. I spent a long time, literally, no kidding. I want to say 6 hours. I could have been longer. I'm going to say 6 hours yesterday in a music store, literally playing all the Les Pauls. I prefer the standard over the traditional. You got to understand the major issue for me, Joshua, is that I don't like heavy guitars. Traditional guitars are non-weight relieved. That's why they're called traditional. They're the traditionally made traditional way without the weight relief system, which is, it's changed over the years. I think the current way is probably the correct way still, which is they drill holes. So they take the mahogany block, they drill holes. You guys could Google this, you get the idea. They drill some holes, they put the maple cap on. Obviously the holes add air, and then they inject helium. No, I'm just kidding. None of that's true. They literally just drill holes, and then obviously by the absence of a material, the guitar is lighter. A lot of people don't like the standards because of that reason. They think that the weight relieving system is it affects the tone. You think tone wood is an argument. What about the absence of wood argument? That more wood is better, much less anything else. For me, it just comes down to I don't care as long as it's the right weight. But something to point out, yesterday when I was having the employee pull down the traditionals or the guitars, they saw some traditionals and they said, well, you don't want these, are heavy. And I said, well, you got to lift each one because they're up high. They were on a ladder. And I said, because I told the employee when they go up, hey, don't even bring them down if they're heavy. Just lift it. If it's like a boat anchor, just leave it up there. And they said, well, I won't even try the traditionals. I said, you never know, because weight density and weight changes. There's moisture and weight. There's, in the wood, there's all kinds of stuff. And they picked up the lightest guitar in the entire store was a traditional. So just by luck of the draw. So I prefer standards because overall they're a little lighter. But if I had a traditional in the weight relieved, I'd like that better for two reasons. One, a solid piece of wood could be cool. And also traditionals typically are a little less money than standards. And to me, the Les Paul, the whole Fender and Les Paul and Gibson, I should say, Fender and Gibson and their, actually everybody's guilty of this. You can throw PRS and all the guys in this too, but Fender and Gibson stick out the most to me with their, changing little things that makes price increases pretty extreme. Seems weird to me, but we're all suckers for it, including myself, All right. What else do we got going on? Let's hit, hold on. Let me go to my other screen and do a refresh. And, all right. Sarang says, hey, Phil, missed last week's show. Glad to be early today, though. I'm glad you're early today, too. Have you any advice, stories of traveling in the air with guitars and gear? Yeah, on airplanes and stuff. Yeah, I do have some advice. I mean, I'll give you the advice I use. I don't like to check guitars. My personal experience with checking guitars is that every time, not every time, 8 out of 10 times I've checked a guitar on an airline, the case has been damaged. It's not the end of the world. That's what the case is there for, but it's just something to be aware of. So if you have a case you care about, you have to understand, be aware they damage them a lot. And a lot of these cases look more durable than they actually are. That's another concern. A lot of wood cases too, wood cases, these vinyl wood cases that you see for guitars, there's different thicknesses. There's ply, right? Like plywood, because it's plywood. So there's like 3-ply and 5-ply and stuff. And so like the 5-ply ones are really durable and the 3-plies can get smashed pretty easy. But me personally, I like to travel with the guitar if I can, take it with me on the plane. And what I always recommend is never check the guitar, take it on the plane. What you do is take it on the plane. Even if the employee at the airport's like, oh no, there's no, just, take it on the plane. I take it on the plane and here's what happens. And this sometimes does happen. You can sometimes fit it over the overhead. If not, you can put it in the closet. And the worst case scenario I've experienced, me personally, is if you're on the plane and they tell you there's no room and it can't be on the plane, they will just run it down to the, they'll run it. They give it to a runner and a runner, tags it and they put it and they check it for you and put it inside the plane. Now, I know the world's changing rapidly and I feel like every time I go to an airline, they're charging me for something. So I have no doubt now that they probably do that and then add $25, obviously, for checking it or even running it now. Who knows? But to me, there's the thing about luggage in my experience is it's last in is first off. So it's like the best of both worlds. So if your guitar they run it down and put it in the cargo bay underneath last, there's less likely stuff being thrown on top of it or being damaged. And then when it's pulled out, again, it's just pulled out and it's again less likely to be damaged. Because if you were watching when you're on plane, they kind of put them in those carts and stuff. But that's the things I do. But more importantly, travel with a good case. That's a good idea. Or some of those super gig bags work great for me too. The other thing I like to do, and because I'm not a gigging musician where I tour, that way I'm usually traveling, even though sometimes for work with the guitar, but not necessarily like, something I need an exact guitar for a performance. I take an inexpensive guitar with me. I tend to take guitars if I'm flying on planes that, if it got damaged, I wouldn't, it wouldn't ruin the whole trip. Let's just put that way. Tobin Hobbs says, how is your experience on selling on Reverb, Ben? Do you get a lot of questions followed by an offer of 60% of your list price? Well, Reverb is no different than eBay and Craigslist in the environment that, the buyers are, they're going to be, there's going to be the extremes, extremely good, nice people you're going to meet, extremely bad, jerks. My experience with Reverb buying and selling, and I mostly buy on Reverb way more than I sell, and is positive. I've had a few bad experiences buying, and I've had a couple bad experiences selling. The thing about Reverb is that they are really hands-on, and I've had some really great and bad experiences to the extreme because of that being hands-on. So I'll give you some insight on that. Maybe if you guys have experienced this stuff, and if not, maybe this will give you insight. I've had situations where I shipped a guitar to somebody and the case got damaged. And what Reverb will do, because I use their shipping system, they will take care of the buyer. They'll contact the buyer. They'll handle the claim. They'll do everything. I did nothing. It was like I shipped the guitar. The buyer said, "Hey, the case is damaged," and shipping. And Reverb took care of everything, including taking care of their case or whatever. Reverb took care of everything. It was amazing. It was like more than you can ever ask for. I've also had the experience. So like a good example, if you guys ever saw the video where I bought a used Paul Reed Smith Archon head and it was damaged by the seller because they packed it horribly. I made a video of that and I contacted the seller. Now what the seller did is they contacted Reverb to let them know that I was unhappy with the purchase, and Reverb got involved, and Reverb made the situation horrible to the point where the only way it got saved was at the last minute. I just got this idea. What if I just contact that guy directly? And so I did. I contacted directly and said, let's just kick Reverb out of this situation. Here's what I want. You know what I mean? I wanted a discount because it was damaged and it was his fault packing it wrong. And he agreed. And, but the problem was Reverb kept coming up with crazy solutions that were making both of us frustrated. And so in that case, that happens. But overall, I will tell you this. That all being said, I could probably cite some other instances of goods and bads, but what I will tell you is this, as I keep repeating that statement, I buy and sell on Reverb. It's where I prefer to buy and sell over eBay and Craigslist. Craigslist should officially call themselves Craigslist, where people with no money shop. I mean, Craigslist will drive you nuts. It's all either trades or tire kickers, and it will make you. They will turn you into a crazy person dealing on Craigslist. For me, as a whole, I do buying on Craigslist, as you guys seen, and selling. But again, I try not to. Obviously, sometimes you're just stuck with that. But yeah, that's my experiences. The second part is, do you get a lot of questions, followed by a 6% offer? Yeah, of course. Like, hey, would you do this and this, and here's this and this, and here's your offer, silliness. The offer things, man, I'm just going to tell you as I would tell you if I was, we're friends. Tobin, we're friends. You got to let them get you down. They're going to, of course, people are going to send stupid offers. And sometimes it's not even because they're jerks or they're dumb. It's because they just are uneducated about things. You know what I can tell you, a weird condition that's installed in us is, especially guitar players, is you could have something that it's worth $300 and you put it for $250 on Reverb because you just want to get rid of it. And you can make $50 more if you wait, but you're not, you just want to get rid of it. And instead of it selling right away, you'll get 50 offers for $200. And you're like, I'm already cheaper than everybody else. Why are you offering? And it's because really what happens is, for lack of a better term, chumming the water. You're just telling people, they don't read it as you don't mind losing $50 and you just want to get rid of it. They look at it like maybe you're desperate, and they like the pressure on that, see how desperate you are. So you got to just not take that stuff to heart. Let's see. Tony says, Phil, did I get bumped from patron level 1 to level 2 and level 2? No, not as far as I know. But Tony, so I'm reading off the website, and the website is not 100% updated to the patron changeover. So if there's anything incorrect right now, it's kind of we're in a transferring thing. We have two things going on right now. Those of you guys who email regularly, know that Michael Shy is amazing, and he's answering tons of emails, and he's the guy on the deck now for the website and stuff. And we have a new website coming. So you guys know the current website, I am shocked at the volume that is going to the website and reading the history of gear articles. In fact, I'll share that with you because I like this week was this week's great. This week was the history of Hughes and Kittner. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let's reiterate it. On the Know Your Gear website, there is a page called The History of Gear. You can click right here, and there's all kinds of gear and explaining the history of that stuff. It's all light reading, something you can do on your phone. We're formatted for phone. And, if you're just somewhere and you want to read a quick article, read our article. Right now, whether it changes, I don't know. I don't guarantee anything, but I just guarantee that I'll inform you. Right now, 100% of the website is not funded. In other words, we don't have any sponsorship. If you see any banners on the website that, are brand banners, I just put them on there just because they're companies that have been nice to us, and we put them on there, but no one's officially paying for anything. So what's nice about it is all these articles have no meaning behind them other than me and Michael talk one week and go, wouldn't it be cool if we talked about something? In fact, the Hughes and Kittner thing was, we saw the YouTube videos of the new Hughes and Kittner amp, and me and Mike were talking to wouldn't it be cool to do an article on Hughes and Kittner, and Mike did the article. So to answer your question, if there's anything going on with what I'm saying or doing, we'll correct it. But right now, just to understand, we're in flux as we're trying to improve everything for everyone. Danny Elliott, whatever. I'm trying to say the name, but it's moving. Okay, there's says, can't you just refuse to sell? And he's referencing back to the Reverb comments where I was talking about Reverb just now. Yeah, of course, you can always not sell to somebody. Yeah. And I think, and that's why I said, I don't take the offers offensively. I just kick them back. The only thing I hate about sometimes the lowball offers is that compulsively, when I'm handling it, I like to send a response, not just a, decline. I like to say, no. And also another problem is if I have something up, I'll just tell you, so you don't have to guess with me. And if you guys are like this or not like this, just that's fine. Let me know. If I put something for $1,000 and somebody sends me an offer for $500, I don't even respond with I'll take 9. I figure we're so far apart. Why even go back and forth? So I'll just kindly just say no, thank you. But just because I don't want to say 9 and then they say 6, you know what I mean? I'm like, I try to put my best foot forward. So I'll try to put the best price forward or the best offer forward I can. So what else do we got? All right, hold on. As I drink and I'll read and I'll drink some coffee. Guns Grunge says, Phil, are you selling any guitars and gear? I'm going to do a large dump of gear soon. I've earmarked a bunch of amps and guitars to get rid of. I do this in regularly, you know what I mean? Sometimes one of the things that happens now, into this YouTube game that I'm into now at this level deep, a lot of people try to relate to me. With this situation, you have too many guitars, or you have, why do you need this, or why do you do that, or, are you going to sell this or keep this? Just understand that, part of the game that I'm in now is that I get gear and I get to review it or demo it and show it to you guys. And that's a revenue stream for me sometimes. So a lot of times I can buy a piece of gear, literally do the video, and in some cases, at the worst case scenario, break even. In other words, the video made enough to pay for the piece of gear. So then to me, it's just like, okay, I sell the gear and then that's the profit. You know what I mean? Because I've hit, flat. So sometimes it's just that easy. You know what I mean? And then sometimes, to be honest, is you're sick of gear. Plus, I've made a kind of a new, not a New Year's resolution, but I have a new resolution in the home to make the family a little bit happier. No more gear comes in the house unless some gear goes, because it kind of starting to plume up. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you guys, since I've started the YouTube channel, and if you guys watch the YouTube videos over the years now watching this channel, you'll see I sell a lot less gear. Because it just kind of stacks up where I used to just churn it more, and I'm not churning it as much. And that's financially a burden on me, and also a physical burden because it's physically here. So so I will be selling some stuff. I put it on Reverb. There's a Know Your Gear shop thing. It's where we sell the stickers. I do give patrons, so you guys know, I give the patrons first right refusal and a discount. Obviously, I think that's fair. So I do that. And then a lot of times if they're not interested, I put it on there. On the Reverb site. So, okay, what else do we got? You guys got a lot of questions. There's 760 of us. Okay. You know what I'll do, hold on a second, is I jump around real quick. Timothy says, have you ever tried the Marshall Code Series modeling amps? If so, what do you think? I have tried the Marshall Code Series amps. I tried one at my buddy Thor's house when I was in Nashville. I tend to get up early and stay up late. So it's a little tough when I'm a house guest. In fact, we were talking about soon I'm going to LA, and Tim, it doesn't matter. So anyways, I was invited to stay at a house, and I warned them. I said, hey, I tend to get up really early in the morning and go to bed really late. So it's kind of like, that's my hardest difficulty. But yeah, so I woke up one morning, like 2 hours before they did, and I played the Code amp for a while. And so yeah, I liked it. I know some YouTubers don't like them. I think they sound fantastic. I love all that stuff. You're never going to get me to crap on any of the Line 6 or the Code amps. And here's why. Just go to some music store and pick up a Crate G20, XL or whatever, and an old Randall or a Gorilla amp, or we could just go on for days. Even a PV Rage. My first real amp that had distortion was a PV Rage, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. In fact, probably to this day, there's probably no moment in my life where I plugged into something and heard Angel sing, at that age, not having an amp that had distortion, and hearing, pushing a distortion button and hearing distortion come out of the amp. But none of those amps, when you listen to them now, sound as good as these modeling amps. These modeling amps sound great, but it's a problem. It's how you compare this stuff. So I could easily say, would you own a Code amp? No, I don't want to own a modeling amp for the most part, because I have a bunch of nice tube amps behind me. I mean, I think it's, hey, look, I got a Supro, and I got this Supersonic 22, and I got a Hughes and Kittner, Grandmeister, and that's what I have. So do I need a Line 6 or a Code Marshall modeling amp? I don't. Now, for digital modeling amps, I do prefer Roland. I have Roland cubes. I like the Katana, but I'll say this. If I didn't use a Katana or a Cube, the Marshall Code would probably be my second runner-up. I just like it, and I'm a real fan of the old Fender Mustang amps. I don't like the newer ones as much, but they're okay. They're all good. You know, like I said, all those modeling amps, they're a miracle, is what they are. Right. I mean, you know, I told you I spent 6 hours in a music store yesterday. I was telling a nice person that I met in the store. We were talking, and I said, I was looking at a PV Viper, like the $99 one or whatever. And I said, look at this. It's $100. It has every sound ever. And you can say that they don't sound that great, but you know, if you're practicing at home, if you can't get music out of that, you know what I mean? You could get music out of it. So yeah, love that stuff. ER Webster says, I have an Apocalypse C7. I love the way it looks, plays, sounds, and feels, but I have an issue with being a neck heavy. Thoughts on how to remedy the issue? Yeah, the biggest thing to do, because it's probably because the body's light. Is it light, you know, in the neck heavy? Strap. You got to get a nice leather strap, something that will grip your shirt and hold. And that helps a lot. I've seen, so, you know, this is a good kind of like story time with Phil kind of minute for repairs. You know what I've seen over the years that just at the first time, maybe it shocked me, maybe the next 10, but when you see it 50, 60 to 100 times, and people put all kinds of weights in their guitars. I've seen people, so, you know, I've opened enough cavities in guitars where you open up and there's like bags of buckshot in there. Let's see what I've seen. I've seen bags of buckshot. I've seen weights, little metal weights put in there. I've seen weird items, like strange, like I don't know, like brass, like not brass knuckles, but like hunks of brass just shoved in guitars. People just put weight in the guitars to do that. I'm not a big fan of that. I would just get a better strap, invest in a nice strap. That's where I would do. So there you go. Yeah. But now, you know, if you were to stick buckshot in your guitar, you would not be alone. So I've even seen, not once, but twice, I've seen somebody who took a drill, like a drill press, and drilled a couple holes in the guitar and then put steel like slugs in the holes. So when you look at the back, there's just like steel slugs. You know, and that's not the end. Off topic, just funny. I'll tell you the greatest like jerry rig I've ever seen, to the day where I'm not making fun of it. I still applaud it. It amazes me to this day. I had a guy come in the store once, and his acoustic guitar, and what happened was he didn't know the acoustic guitar had a truss rod. He was new to guitar. Didn't know what a truss rod was, you know, right? This is early 2006 or 7. You know, YouTube wasn't like it is now, where you can just watch a video of a guy showing you a truss rod. This guy had an acoustic guitar. There was no tension on the truss rod at all. It wasn't tight at all. So what happened was he went to a music store, and somebody in the music store, not me, sold him some 13 gauge strings. So he put 13 gauge strings on an acoustic guitar that had no tension on the truss rod. So you can imagine now you have a bow and arrow, right? The guitar is buckled in. So how did he solve this? He did not go to a music store. He did not look at YouTube, because it didn't exist as well. He took bungee cords. I just want to make sure I see myself so I can show you. He took bungee cords, 2 of them, like they have hooks, and he hooked them on the headstock. And then he ran them back behind the guitar, and then he hooked them over the guitar, and the bungee cords pulled the guitar flat. Now the action was still a little high because it wasn't enough tension. So he brought it in, and he only brought it in to get a string put on it, because he broke a string and he needed a string. And when I saw this guitar, I was so enamored by it. I was just like, because you know why? Because your instinct is, you know, you idiot. Why did you put bungee cords on it? But the reality is, he's a problem solver, right? He could have quit guitar. He could be like, that I can't play guitar. So that guy went into his garage and said, how do I get this to do this? And just because he wasn't educated about the subject, he found a fix. And sometimes that's the mantra I love, which is use what you got. And if it's a little bit of information, a little bit of tools, use what you got. Sometimes, you know, and so the reality is, and just to add to the story, I actually set up his guitar and I did it for free, because I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So there's my story about the crazy bungee board. I wonder now sometimes, like now that I have a channel, I wonder if some of these people that I've met and had these experiences, I wonder if they watch now. If you're ever watching bungee cord guy, I love you. So, okay. So what else do we got going on? David Hunter says, hey, Phil, do you have any idea how hybrid amps are qualifying their wattage? two different 20-watt amps can be wildly different. Are they sandbagging? You know, that's a great question, Hunter. But so you know, this is like the qualifier gets a little bit more confusing because even just on a straight fair game of tube amps, you know what I mean? So two 20-watt tube amps could not be, you know, one could be 20 watts and one could be 22 watts and one could be 18 watts. And there's all kinds of stuff. And wattage in itself is also a tricky game, you know, right? Because does that always equate to volume or decibels? Or so it gets a little wacky. The only thing that is important is there's definitely a mentality switch, and this will be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next decade. I can honestly say before the mini amp boom, which we all know, you know, has been going now for a decade. You know, it's been a decade since, you know, we all started buying smaller, not only combo amps, but like these mini heads and stuff. Until that, you got to understand their industry was driven by this one qualifier, which was a watt, a dollar, you know, kind of logic, or the more watts, the more dollars. So if you had an 88 watt amp and you tested it, you bench tested it and put out 88 watts, telling people it's 100 watts meant you can command more money. You know what I mean? So they would just say, oh, it's 100 watts, right? And they'd come up with sometimes just some math that made it work, and sometimes just a blatant BS. You know what I mean? There's tons of companies that's actually notoriously known back in the day of using input voltage as output voltage. So in other words, they would take in, let's say, a certain amount of watts off the wall or whatever. You know, I know I said voltage, but you understand what I mean. So it was the amp was taking in like 120 watts, but it was only putting out like, you know, 60 watts. But they would do some trickery there. So there's all kinds of stuff that's out there that's a little confusing. Now, the reason why I say it's important change in the last decade is because of small 2 amps. And that's why, if you notice, I did a video, I'll put a timestamp right now, with Doug Sewell from PRS, where I nicely suggested to him that I'm a conspiracy guy on this. I really thought that the Tremonti amp was not 15 watts, that it seemed like a louder amp. And I kind of feel like they made it 15 watts because they know that the bedroom player is looking for 15 watts. That's the magic, right? 5, 10, 15 watts. Once they get to 25, 35 watts, small gigging musicians are looking for 20 to 25 to 30 watts. And rock stars, you know, maybe the rock stars in the bedroom, they need 100 watts. I don't know. Anyways, I think they were, and he said in the video, it's actually like 18 watts. And so they did exactly what I said in reverse. The Tremonti MT15 is 18 watts, but it's stated as only being 15. So you see where the qualifier is a little tricky, because I don't know what the legality of that is. You know what I mean? Telling somebody that it's a 15 watt amp when it's 18. Well, if they can do that, then why can't we imagine that a company could do the opposite? Make a 15 watt amp and call it 18, or make an 18 and call it 20. So here's the thing I love. Hold on, let me take a drink. So you got to use your ear, but more importantly, sadly enough, that's why everybody who's ever experienced this knows exactly what I'm going to say right now. You never know until you take it to band practice. If your issue is wattage, power, loudness, it always has to be put into practice. You'll never be able to verify how loud an amp is or how it cuts through a mix until you put it in that situation. And that's the sad part. That's why that's what's great about being able to buy amplifiers now, take them to band practice, and then return them to the stores. So it's happened many times to many musicians. There's probably thousands of musicians, literally, no joke, that watch this show that have had that exact experience. In the store, it was shaking the windows, it was rattling the walls. They took it to band practice, they were just getting killed. So you got to put it into practice, buddy. Or if you can't put it in practice, you know what you can do? Ask around. You know what I mean? Somebody can tell you. So there's some amps out there that I think are dogs, and there's some amps out there that I'm like, wow, they will kill. You know what I mean? So there you go. All right, let's get some. Hold on, guys. I want to get some non-super chats real quick. What else do we got? Oh, Dennis says, does Davapix make a stiff pick? I sometimes use the blue to and to light even, I choke up on it. Yeah. I don't think they do. They make some weirder ones that have like metal on them. I haven't really experienced anything outside of the Davapix I already use. What I do, so you know, this is the other pick I use. In fact, I just bought some yesterday at the music store. These are 0.88s. However, I run the gamut of these. If you don't know what these are I'm like, I don't know what they're called. Pure tones. They're by Dunlop. These are these crazy expensive picks. In fact, I bought some yesterday that are black that are less expensive. When I mean expensive, I think I didn't look at the receipt because I bought enough packs. I know they're not gonna, it's gonna make me sick. I think it's like 4 of them for $6. Does that sound right to everybody? Something like that. It could be more. I don't know. That's what it feels like, right? When you can buy a bag of picks for $5 and get, a dozen, you get less than a half a dozen for more. But I love these. And that's what I use when I want a firmer pick. So that's how it is with the Davas. I use the Davas a lot. And then, but something that happened on a patron hangout, and Nathan was there, my buddy Nathan, and he mentioned something that I never mentioned in any video. And it was funny when he said it. Probably the shock in my face was probably the big tell. He made a comment. He said, well, I said something about how I pick, or I using the Davapix, like right here. And I was saying, okay, I they use it like this. And Nathan goes, he qualified to the patrons. He said, well, so though, Phil plays really light. And I've never said that in a video. I've never even mentioned that. But so you guys know, I play extremely light. And I know it's tricky because sometimes it doesn't look that way. If you guys ever see me do slap bass, you'll understand too. I slap bass extremely light. I do this illustration. Maybe I'll do a video where I can slap bass. Everything you see me do, like with my thumb, I can do with my pinky on the bass just to illustrate. I used to do that for students, show them how I can slap bass with my pinky just to illustrate how light I'm touching the strings. So I have a very light touch. It's ingrained in me not to pick in deep. It's like an economy of motion thing. I don't like to go under the string either. So if this is the string, I like to glide on the tops of the strings. I don't like to hit underneath. The only time I hit any more aggressive than that is sometimes, like even for punk rock, I'm strumming really light. It's kind of a weird thing. So I don't know why that is. I don't know why I picked that up. I think it's because it's something that happened to me running the Lesson Academy all those years. All those teachers that would teach there was one common denominator. The ones that played the best had the lightest picking touch. So it became a thing with me to obsess about just getting my pick light touch. And there's no rhyme or reason to that. Some of you guys will probably qualify it and say, yeah, lighter players play better and stuff like that. But here's the deal. I've now noticed, like, if you guys don't know the story about Paul Gilbert, he used to only pick upward because his friend told him he only picked. This is a true story. He says his friend told him he only pick upwards. So Paul Gilbert, like for the first 2 years, like whatever year or two of playing guitar, he only picked up. So that's why he's so fast, because once he figured out, you can go down too, he's faster. John Petrucci alternate picks every single note, where someone like Eric Johnson probably, he like blissfully like kind of glides over the the strings, so they're Mel says Phil plays some great bass, but he won't, just to piss me off. Yeah, it's great though, Mel. Part of the problem with the bass videos is there was no gear to review, and no bass companies are reaching out to me, obviously. And I go, I can buy bass gear, but really, what bass players aren't like guitar players. I don't, I've never even met a bass player that has like 8 different bass amps. You know what I mean? So you just, but I finally got some bass gear to review. So how about that? In fact, I bought a bass yesterday. I'm going to review it. I'm very excited about it. In fact, I will put it a little ahead of where I plan to put it, just because I'm really excited about this bass, especially this bass, because it was a $179 bass and I really, really loved it. Okay. John Scholter says, do you do setups for customers? John, like I said, Michael is helping me with emails now. He is doing an amazing job, and he brought to my attention, because we're doing folders. I was doing folders before, but we're really doing folders with what you guys are emailing. One of the questions I get the most is about doing setups. Like you guys heard me mention earlier, I am doing setups. I was doing setups all week. I even did a cracked headstock repair, 2 of them this week, for PRSs. Maybe I'll talk about that. But anyways, yes, the answer is yes. But what we decided to do is I'll make an announcement soon. We will now have a new way to do more setups. My fear is I've been baby stepping this YouTube thing plus the other stuff I do now. And of course, I love doing repairs. I really like doing YouTube. It's tough. It's like this is how much I love doing YouTube, and this is how much I love doing repairs. Like, I don't know if they're different, but they're close. What I do know is this: both of them are kind of full-time jobs at sometimes. So I'm trying to blend this better. What's happening is I've had a lot of people now help. There's a lot of stuff. Not to go on this tirade because I don't want to suck up too much of this good time with you guys. But sometimes in Mike have somebody help me. Has not only been beneficial to me, but more importantly with Mike, what's great is he's been able to articulate to me like some of the things like, wow, the amount of time you spent doing that's crazy. And I go, yeah, I see my problem. It's hard to translate that to the audience. It's hard for me to explain to you guys that I could spend, 4 hours on the phone with a company just to try to get a 5 things video done. When I did the guitar myths video, it took 6 months to get that video done. But it didn't take, obviously, 40 hours a week, 6 months. It took a total of probably 20 hours of work, but it's 20 hours, spread over. And that's just to make one video that was like 8 minutes long. So sometimes the time just gets sucked up. And then, of course, there's stuff. So the answer question is, man, I am focused on it, and we have an announcement we want to make. It's too soon to make it, but the answer is yes. Do I do still setups? Yes. Will I have a broader outreach of how to get those setups done for customers? Absolutely. But right now it didn't make sense to try to reach out to more people, because here's the biggest problem I have when people ask me to do setups. I already have guitars here and I'm working on them and I owe them to people. So sometimes when somebody comes to me and goes, hey, can you do a couple of guitars? I was like, I have 10 guitars I'm still doing now. And I feel weird taking on more work that and when I haven't got this work, and I don't know when my day can go rogue on me. It's not like the old days where I used to get up in the morning, go to the store and work on guitars all day. Now I get up and I work on a video that I think is going to take 2 hours, and then I'll go work on guitars. But instead that video took 9 hours. There you go. So that's the good news. There's good news in that. All right. Thank you for letting me vent. That was very therapeutic, by the way. Okay. Here we go. We got some more stuff. Hold on. I'm reading. Ishan's got a question. It says, should I sell my affordable gear or ship it after moving to another state? Okay. So that's a good question. And Ishan, I hope I'm saying your name right, man. Ishan, the answer I would give you is the same answer I give you about furniture. I had a friend. I always hate when I say that. I have a friend. I don't had a friend. I have a friend. They moved to Oregon. They got a quote to move from Arizona to Oregon. The price was so high because I don't know if you guys know anything about moving, but like here's a good example. Some places you can move from California to Texas cheaper than you can move from Texas to California. No, backwards. You can move to Texas to California for less than half of what it takes to go to California to Texas, because it's about where they need trucks and there's all kinds of stuff in this, So anyways, to point out the question was, she moved from Arizona to Oregon and it was so expensive. She figured out that she could just buy all the stuff. She could buy all new furniture, she could buy all that stuff for what her stuff was worth. So she sold it all and then she bought all new stuff there. So my question to you, or my answer to you, is the same exact answer. If you can sell the stuff, and then buy it again for less than you can ship it, I would definitely think of that as a solution, because hey, that's some new stuff. And also, if you love it, it doesn't matter what it's worth. Affordable gear, I understand what affordable gear is, but like a perfect example behind me, the smattering of product behind me is all over the place. I love this little Jackson. That's $149 new guitar. So affordable, although I would say that's an affordable piece of gear, to me, it's just in the collection is something I like. So I don't really think of it as like this costs less than, let's say, that guitar. But so that's the advice I have to you. Follow your wallet or your heart, and hopefully they meet up. This is the new Love Lines gear channel. Follow your, I like that. We want to make a t-shirt. Follow your wallet or your heart. And that would be good with a picture of a guitar. All right. I'm done entertaining myself. I better entertain you guys. All right. David Hunter says, hey, Phil, do you have any idea how hybrid amps? Oh, we already did that one. Sorry. Let's go to Mitch. Mitch Cole says, you're a great man, Phil. You know, if you could just say that to my wife, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Says, thanks for fostering and encouraging guitar community on YouTube. Your work matters. You know, that is awesome to hear. Especially not so much, you know, the accolades about my work, but the fostering and encouraging a guitar community. I'll be honest with you, man. I love it every day. The thing that, you know, makes the heart beat is not when somebody says, I love that video, or man, you know, you knew something there, or any of that stuff, or you taught me something. Those are all great things, of course. Who doesn't want to be any kind of accolades, you know, but it's when I'm on a video and I'm looking at a comment and I watch one of you guys answer that comment, or you guys interact with each other and somebody says, hey, Phil, could you tell me which guitar I would buy if I do this? And I see 5 of you going, here's what I did. And I had that same experience. And the reason is this isn't some kind of BS, you know, kind of like, hey, can't we all get along thing? You know what? I don't care if we all get along. You don't have to agree with people. You understand that you know, helping people does help you. You know what I mean? There's skills that are made when you reach out to people. There's skills made when you ask for information. And I thank you for the community comment, because I do think it's important. And I'm also very aware, because of some life experience, that a guitar community is like any community. It's a positive, and you can make it great, and it can sour and fester and die very easily too. And I'm very aware of that. And that's why I'm very in tune with it. Thank you for the feedback. And like you guys, and like I said, thank you when you guys notice things that you don't like. Something to tie into that, you know, when something happens and you guys don't like it and you send me messages, please understand, I read all those messages, and also sometimes I don't respond to them. But if you notice, a lot of you do notice, I make adjustments as we go, because again, I am very in tune with the fact that I want the community to stay healthy and thrive. Mary D says, hi, Mary. Says, I want an Ernie Ball Majesty, but I can't justify the dough. That's on getting the Sterling and an aftermarket Piazza bridge or pizza bridge. It says, okay, so I understand what you're saying, Mary, because they're expensive. I was looking at them yesterday. I think the Sterling ones are like $900, right? That's legit money. You know what I mean? In a world where a guitar is amazing at $300, $900 is 3 of those amazing guitars. So I understand what you're saying. And, you know, obviously the answers I give to you are obviously used. You know, don't be afraid to look at those used ones and save some money that way. And also, don't be afraid to ask for deals. You know, look for those deals. You know, and I understand that doesn't help a lot, because even a good deal on a new one, you know, if you were able to somehow get a magical 20% off, which would be hard to do, but you could do it. You know, you're still looking at $720 on that guitar. So I understand what you're saying. It's tough. And I understand. The question I have for you is, you know, not that it's a big chunk of dough. It's, why do you feel it's a lot of money? That's the thing about this. You know, one of the things I love to remind everybody is nobody needs any guitars. This is all hobby. You know what I mean? If you have issues with people who have 5 guitars or 20 or 100 guitars or 300 guitars, the reality is that everybody doesn't need any of this stuff. We're all talking today, hanging out, because for the most part, a lot of us have stuff they have to do because we're adults. Some of us are adults. Some of you guys are kids. Great. But you have homework. Get to your homework. Anyways, the point is, this is what we do for our life to make it better. So my question to you is, what is it that makes it feel like a lot of money to you? Is it that it's because it's physical? Physical to me is like $900 is literally a huge chunk of your monthly income, and that's a lot of money to dish out. Is it because you have other financial responsibilities and you feel guilty taking some money away from those responsibilities? I understand that. I'm a father. You know, every time you buy a guitar, sometimes you have to, trust me, if my kids weren't taken care of, you wouldn't see any of this crap. You know what I mean? I definitely, you know, got to take care of my children. I don't mean just feed them. Like I don't want them to want for anything. And if it means I'm one less guitar down the road, that's fine. as long as they have their, needs are met. So those are the things you have to ask yourself. Those are the things I ask myself when I feel like a guitar is a high amount. So I'll tell you what I do. What I try to do is obviously look for the deal. That helps. But more importantly, what I also try to do is set a timeline for myself. So like, let's say a month. So today is September 14th. So here's what I argue, Mary. Let's look at the calendar. Let's see how good you guys are. We're going to go on the calendar. We've never done this before. Well, we'll timestamp it though, so we'll remember. We're going to go a little early because it's the 12th. It makes sense. On October 12th, that will be a month. On October 12th, we will earmark this and we'll bring this back up. And we're going to ask you, Mary, do you still want a Majesty in 30 days from now? Has it, kind of left the system, or is it still? And then maybe then that helps justify the money a little bit more. Something to think about. It has definitely helped me. Sometimes your best friend is your lack of cash. So I have almost bought some of the dumbest ideas ever in my life. And the holdback was I didn't have the money. And then looking back going, man, I'm glad I didn't have the money. That was a bad purchase. And then sometimes I've had the money and I made the purchase and I wish I didn't have the income to buy that pedal or that thing that was an impulse buy. So yeah, you gotta weigh everything out. All right. Let's go to a non-super chat question. Let's see what we got. Oh, okay. Bobby says, hi, Phil. Should I sell my Blackstar HT 1-watt head and get the Boss Katana 50 for home? So that's an easy answer for me. I'm a fan of both those amps. Again, this is like a question earlier today where we asked where I like both things. I love the Blackstar HT1. It's one of my favorite little 1-watt tube heads, and the Boss Katana 50. I think the Boss Katana 50 is overall a better product. It's a better amp. It's got more things in it. And I can only argue the Blackstar HT1 maybe has, I'm a fan of the Blackstar HT1 in the clean channel with the gain pushed. And I like that sound. But I would dare say the HT1 is not say a one-trick pony, but let's say it's a two-trick pony. I think the Katana is a better at-home practice amp. I think you would enjoy it more. You could get more out of it. You know what I mean? So, and then Ken says, are headstock repairs stronger than before? Yes. The answer is yes, but with a caveat. Sometimes the headstock, here's the deal. Sometimes it's not about just, if you glue, the whole adage, glue is stronger than wood. I'm not spreading that. What I'm saying is sometimes the way you glue a piece of wood, you're going to make the bond is going to be stronger. It's going to be better reinforced. However, in my experience with headstock repairs, sometimes the headstocks crack in the weirdest, craziest ways. And it's just like, so here's the thing. It's just like surgery. I mean, I've put pins in things, where you had to just to mount. There wasn't enough surface to glue to. So you have to kind of dowel them and do all this stuff. And then I tell my, I felt the neck, and you're like, okay, it's fine, but it's not going to be as strong as it ever was. So, but in most cases, yes, it's stronger and it'll be better for it. But one thing I love, there's one person out there, maybe a bunch of you, but the one that caught my eye, somebody said, if repaired headstocks are better than regular headstocks, why doesn't everybody just break their headstocks and reglue it? And I thought, oh, that's great. That's a great question that just stings a little bit because it makes almost everything I feel like I'm saying when I say repaired headstocks are stronger nonsensical. Because I'm like, yeah, if it's so great, why don't we just break them in the factory and reglue them? But the reality is it's also, you got to understand there's something to say that there's a little bit when you're a repair person. One of the things that you want to do to your customer, just like a physician would do, is take care of them. And one of the ways you can take care of them is reassure them. And so a lot of times you'll hear luthier say, hey, yeah, the repaired headstock is stronger than new. Maybe it's not stronger than new. Maybe it's as strong as new. However, we want you to feel confident because the reality is you don't have to, because that's what we're afraid of. We don't want somebody, I don't want to fix a headstock, give it to you. And then, 6 months down the line, I try your guitar and you're like, oh, what are you down to? And they go, well, I never tune it up because I don't want it to, break. And it's not frail. It can take a lot of abuse. Okay. Stan Lee. Hey, like Stan Lee? You like Spider-Man? Stan Lee says, I repaired my broken Gibson Les Paul headstock myself, and it seems good still. Complete break too. Yeah, I think it's a, what's funny is we did the Sharpen Max number 11. That was Tim did that because we wanted to do the refin. And Tim was funny about this at Atomic because with obviously, he said, hey, he's a little concerned, not much, but he's like, hey, I don't know if I want to show people, what I do for a living. And I told him, I said, well, I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And I told him, I said, and what I've learned is the best thing you can do is share your knowledge with people, because one of two things will happen. They'll take your knowledge and they'll be better for it. And then they'll have a bond with you. They'll respect the fact that you were the one that showed them that. Or they'll look at it and go, yeah, that's a lot of work. I think I'll just let you do that. So, which is fine. Yes, I love that. Yeah, I think a lot of people can fix their headstocks. The one I did 2 days ago was a very, I don't want to say easy, but it was a glue clamp job and a little bit of sanding, and it was a pretty easy thing to fix as a whole. And I had to do what's called what I call adjust pricing for it. The guilt sits in a little bit. You're like, I cannot charge the regular rate. This is a little faster than normal. So sometimes you do that. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're just like, hey. But I know a lot of people I think people are concerned about doing some repairs because they're afraid of making things worse. So, and and sometimes you might be right, but most of the time you're not. Most of the time I tell people, try to repair yourself. Just make sure you do documentation with photos and stuff. So if you get in a hole you can't get out of, take it to a repair center, have them do the work. In most cases, they shouldn't charge you more. And first of all, I'll tell you a pet peeve of mine. I have some pet peeves. Obviously, if you do anything for a living, I'm sure there's things that happen in your world that pet peeve. Pet peeve for me is any technician that says, I charge more if you try to do it first, or charge more, if you, I understand the logic. I don't like it when somebody's made a situation that could have been easier for me worse. But you know what? I want you to try. So, and if I have to charge a couple extra bucks because there's a couple more minutes of my time because the try you did is, created some havoc, maybe I'll have to do that. But I don't think anyone should be shamed for that. You guys should be trying to repair instruments and work your way up. You know what I mean? I don't go ripping frets out of your guitars first day. But everybody should learn to work on their guitars a little bit. So, especially in a world where you got to understand, guitars are going to get like everything else. It's going to be cheaper to buy one than fix one. And then what's going to happen is everybody's going to throw guitars away. And I think that is just the most horrible idea in my head ever. It's the thing that gets me my head spinning. I don't want a guitar to be a thing that is disposable to throw it away. It doesn't have to be that way. So to me, if you can make a guitar, I'm sorry. David Curtis says, I have a guitar. I made a broomstick and a rubber band. Good for you. That was awesome. All right. So anyways, like I said, back to my on task. Yeah, I don't think we should be throwing guitars away. I think if it's not, I understand that if you buy a guitar for $200 and it costs $250 to fix it, but the other answer is you can learn to do it yourself. So there you go. All right. Let's do one more. Not one more. We got a couple more of these. We got a couple pin ones I got to get to. Okay. Neon Lights 12. Says, I have a 17, I'm assuming that's a 2017 made in Mexico Strat maple neck fretboard. What humbucker would you recommend for rock to complement the woods? This is obviously the question of the, some people say no No woods apply to this situation. What I will tell you is this. I like for what you're asking me for, the pickups that I personally use that I like are the JB by Seymour Duncan, and I like the Pearly Gates. I've had good luck with both those pickups. They're great in the affordable realm because they're, under $100 new and you can find them used. From DiMarzio, I like the Tone Zone. A lot of people don't like it, but I like the Tone Zone. I'm not for the Strat. If you want a super Strat 80s rock sound, oh man, the Super Distortion is fantastic. But JB and the Pearly Gates are my kind of go-to picks for that. Another pickup that is just fantastic is the EVH Wolfgang pickup. Oh, that's another great pickup. It's fantastic. Justin says, I bought a Sir and changed my strings, and now I have fret buzz. I went back to NYXLs, but the low E is still buzzing around the 12th fret. Same gauge. Help. Okay, so we've identified the biggest issue, which is it's the same gauge. This is not uncommon, by the way. You take the strings off an instrument, and what's happened is maybe the neck did not go to the same position it was when the last strings were on it. Especially like NYXLs. You got to understand, NYXLs, I believe, are steel strings, right? That's the big thing about NYXLs. So steel strings are going to be a little stronger than the nickel, pure nickel strings or the nickel wrapped steel strings. So there's going to be some issues there. My guess is, here's my guess, Justin. My guess is that when you change your strings, the new strings went on, the neck has pitched back. So you're probably noticing the most buzz above the 5th fret, right? No, you said still buzzing around the 12th fret. Oh, you know what? So if the low E is still buzzing around the 12th fret, I don't think it's the neck pitch back. I actually think it's the bridge. So maybe if the bridge was floating, the bridge changed position, something like that. So here's the easy part for you, messing with the guitar. If the buzz is happening around the 5th fret and above, so 1st to 5th fret, I would say make an adjustment to the neck. Your issue is around the 12th fret to the 22nd fret or whatever you have. I'm going to say it's a bridge issue. Again, I don't know which model, sir, you have. I mean, I don't know if it's a floating bridge or a hardtail. I'm assuming it's some kind of tremolo, especially if the tremolo was flat and now it's kicked back. That can be an issue too. So you're going to need to do that setup that way. There's videos on that. If not, we can probably help you on that. But that's my suggestion to do that. And if that doesn't work, you can take it in for a setup somewhere. But now what's great is you can say, okay, this is the information you have. See if they can get it qualified and verified that that's the actual issue and make a quick adjustment. So sometimes to think about too is if it's easy like that, it doesn't need a full setup and it just needs an adjustment. One thing I can suggest you too with repair techs is ask about a quick adjustments. Like, hey, if it's just a quick adjustment, can you just knock it out for me at a reduced rate? So there's nothing wrong to ask that. Just, you got to understand everybody's got a different time value. So sometimes some techs are busy and they don't really need to kind of do that. But, it's nice sometimes they make an adjustment quickly. HK says, I got a Roland Cube 40 XL. I have 2 of them. Love them. Off eBay, and I'm amazed on how good it is. Yeah, it's one of my favorite amps. I have the newer Roland Cube 40, and I have the one that has the power squeeze, and that's my favorite one of the two. It says, I am a tube amp guy, really, but I found this amp better than modeling amps. What makes the Cube so good? Yeah, what makes it so good is it's like old solid state technology. And what makes it good is Roland. Roland makes good amps. Roland was the king of the home practice amp. You know what I mean? They built those cubes. I mean, they were the #1 selling amps. If you look at the Cube amps, they're not cut from the same cloth, so to speak, as the other little practicing amps. Roland Cubes are dovetail jointed, sealed, built at high standards. Roland was not messing around. They didn't go into the market with the I shouldn't say Me Too now, right? With the we can too attitude. Where they're like, hey, Mustang makes, Fender makes this amp, and so does Line 6. We can do one like that too. They were trying to do something a cut above. They were like, hey, this is for the for the musician with a higher, I don't want to say standard, but yeah, higher standard. So that's what the Roland Cubes were. And that's why the Katana is where it is. So, the Roland Cube always did well. It was always the great amp. But the reality was the Roland cubes were expensive. Cube 40, I think, was what, $400, $300. And all of a sudden you could buy for $200, you buy a 75 watt amp from Line 6, Fender and Peavey. And that really started hurting Roland cube. And that's a perfect example of the Cube 40. It's a $300 amp, but now you can buy a 50 watt Katana for $200. I still prefer my Roland cubes over my Katanas, over the Katana. Not Katanas, the Katana, but I still like the Katanas a lot. I think it's good. And in some ways it's a little better because newer kind of always refines a little bit, but man, I love the Roland cubes. I'm always going to be a fan of those. Ishan says I got his name right. Maybe I messed it up this time though. Thank you for the answer. I am attached to my guitar. Yes. Yeah. Then keep it, man. You know what? Because now think of this, even if you save a couple bucks, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. One of the things you can do to make yourself really nuts is fall in love with an instrument, get rid of it, and then try to find another instrument that does what the other one does. Because sometimes you're chasing a ghost. The worst thing is not only was the instrument great, but then your perception, your memory of it is always better than even it was. And so therefore nothing can add up to it. So that's a big thing. Shut Up, Let's Talk says Charvel Pro DK24, or just get a shreddy Strat. I love your videos. Thanks, man. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Shut Up, Let's Talk. I love the Charvel Pro DK24 shreddy Strat. Well, I don't know what shreddy Strat you would pick. Obviously my copper Strat is my custom shop Fender Strat, which is, where is it? Oh, it's in the other room. Is a copy of a Charvel. I like the Charvel stuff, especially the Pro Series stuff, made in Mexico. I think it's really good. In fact, back on the radar again for me is another Charvel. You know what I mean? I kind of missed mine, but I don't know. I'm gonna say Charvel. Can't go wrong with it. One thing about those Charvels, especially those made in Mexico ones, they seem way better than the price point alludes. And not the price point's cheap, but man, they seem really good for the price. Sarang says, what is the thinnest Fender neck you ever played? Oh yeah, this is the easiest question I've ever gotten, ever in the history of ever. This red Strat right here. That solid rosewood neck guitar, that is the thinnest, smallest neck on any Fender guitar I've ever played. It doesn't even feel like a Fender neck to me. It feels like some kind of weird like shreddy Japanese type guitar. That's the thinnest neck and smallest, thinnest neck I've ever played from Fender. That solid rosewood neck. So there you go. And then CF just wanted a super chat. Just want to say hi. Thank you, CF. Okay, let's do one or two more questions before we wrap it up. Before we have a great weekend, go play guitar after we talked about guitar. Guns and Grunge says, Phil, I'm looking for an acoustic amp. What do you recommend? That also depends on your price point, but I will tell you that I'm always really okay. So I'll tell you the ones I love, and then I'll tell you the one I like the price of. I have behind me, if you see behind me, I have a very expensive Hughes and Kittner one that they sent me to check out. I loved the one I tried at GitCon, so they sent me the nicer one to check out because I was actually playing bass. If you watch my Instagram or follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I think it was on Facebook, there's a video of me playing bass at GitCon on the amp. And so they sent it to me. I really love it. This amp is not cheap by any means. This is on the high tier of the acoustic amp world. So for the high tier, here's what I love. I love the California Blonde that they don't make anymore by SWR. I love that amp. The Shenandoah by Gens-Benz is Gens, whatever you want to call it. That's great. They don't make that anymore, but if you can find them used, they got good pricing and they're great. I like, obviously, the Fishman Loudbox. I think that's a cool amp. I'm a huge fan of Roland, as you guys know, as you heard earlier, and I've never fell in love with any of the Roland acoustic amps. Although I like them, I've sold lots of them. I really think they're quality. Me personally, the AC60, the AC33, just never really bonded with them. Other than, yeah, they do their job, but there's nothing that is connected with me. But an amp that blows me away for the price is the Fender ones, the new ones that are wood. They're really good. You know what I mean? They just really good for the price. So that's one I would think about. And if you guys got suggestions too, I'd love to hear it because, acoustic amps for me, it's not about tone. So it's not about, when I mean tone by, not about like, I would never say like, oh, there's I have this acoustic amp for this tone. I have this acoustic amp for this tone. To me, it's like you get one good acoustic amp and then you're happy. That's how I am. So those are the ones I've tried and how I found them to be good. Yeah, Eric Nunya says, I love my Cali Blonde. Yeah, SWR is one of those brands. Like if I was going to put a heartfelt, reach out to somebody and say, hey man, I'm really sad a brand's gone. SWR is one of those brands. And even though it's a bass company, man, the California Blonde was just a great amp by far. You know why? It was an acoustic amp, but it was also, I don't know, just a great amp. All right. What else do we got? You guys any? Aaron Cram says, did you ever find a Martin? Man, great, Aaron. Thanks for asking me that. Again, the search I think is over, and I ended up not getting a Martin, and it's really weird. I started this journey, as some of you guys and gals have maybe tried before, finding something you love and then trying to find it and then finding something else. And I think I've moved to a Taylor, and I'm really shocked because I always thought I was going to get this Martin. Now, so I'm not giving up on the Martin. I really want to still get a Martin, but I think I'm about to pull the trigger very, very soon, very, very soon, like before next show, on a Taylor, because I even know what model I want, and I just don't know if I should tell you guys yet, because maybe I should do a review of it. You guys think I should do a review of it? So I don't know if you guys. Anthony says Bournes versus CTS pots. So Bournes potentiometers I think are fantastic, but some people. So Bournes is a brand that's gotten me into trouble because I like them. But if you guys aren't familiar with what we're talking about, Bournes is a type of potentiometer, but it's like non-friction. It's like feels like it's broken. There's no resistance. I love that. But some players, when I put it in their guitars over the years, I have learned that they hate it with a passion. They like some resistance. So I'm a Bournes guy, but I feel like, just from experience, the majority of players really like CTS pots. Most people like to feel a little resistance, especially if their hand goes around and hits things. Because the Bournes pots, you barely have to breathe on them, and they've turned a little bit on you. And I kind of keep my hand picking, in the string range. I'm not sweeping out too much, so I've had no problem with it. And just because Joseph deserves the credit. Yeah, he said Taylor T14. Yeah, 214. Okay, so what else do we got? Yeah, Eric Nunya says Fender screwed up SWR, which I have, and Tacoma, which I have. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. They did. They killed the SWR brand and Tacoma, and two brands that I really think didn't deserve it. Sometimes brands, get a little long in the tooth, and, just the world changes and they get shelved, and it happens. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It just happens. But SWR was a brand I'm like, really, in the new world of micro bass amps and in acoustic world of acoustic amps, I thought SWR still has a place in it, especially being, high end stuff. So, all right. Well, that was good. Anything else before we go? Any last shout outs or anything? I thought it was a great show. I think it was huge. There was like 880 of us hanging out this Friday. I hope everybody's going to have a great weekend. I'm just going to do a quick mention real fast before I go. Obviously, the shirt of the month. Oh, a new change, new thing. The change in the shirts. So this month's shirt's out, the September shirt. I'll make sure there's a link in the description if you're interested in it. It's the St. Vincent style shirt. And of course, the regular shirts are still available. But through popular requests, through emails, me and Mike came up with an idea, or we all came up with the idea. And so run it by you guys and tell me what you think, since we have not officially done it yet. So one of the things we were doing was shirt of the month, where every month we do a different guitar on the shirt. And a lot of you guys are responding nicely with that. And but a lot of people feel like, hey, but I missed out on the shirt, and they would still like to get the shirt. So what we decided was, we're going to make all the shirts available, but here's what's going to change. The part of the downfall for us, there's a downfall for us, is that if you don't buy a lot of shirts, I mean, as a community, you don't buy a lot of shirts. I don't make very much on the shirts. It's a sliding scale. So if I sell one shirt, the company that makes the shirt and ships the shirt, they're going to keep the lion's share of the money. And if I sell, 10 shirts, I get to keep more of the lion's share of the money. So what we decided to do is we're going to allow all the old shirts to come back, or the month, not all of them, just the Guitar a Month ones. But what's going to happen now is, like, this month, the shirt is available all month, but the St. Vincent style shirt will be available next month, but it'll go to a higher price than all the other shirts. So the old shirts will come back at a higher price. So just letting you know, that's how that option works. Just because I know some people like to wear the shirts. I don't wear them. There you go. I hope that works. So, and on that note, my daughter is in a show tonight, so I'm going to go watch my daughter and have fun. And I hope you guys have an amazing weekend and play guitar. And until next weekend, as you guys know, hit the like button and know your gear.